Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Melissa with 7 Saturdays Travels, and today we are going to talk about one of my favorite things in the entire world to do, especially when the weather gets warm here in Virginia, and that is to go to the theme parks here. We have two major theme parks in Virginia. The first one is King's Dominion. The other one is Busch Gardens. King's Dominion is in Doswell, Virginia. Busch Gardens is in Williamsburg, Virginia. I happen to live about in the midpoint of the two. So every other year for as long as my kids have been alive, I think, even before then, we have decided to rotate between the two parks for our season passes. And for the past 2 years, we've actually done King's Dominion. Well, last year and this year again, we'll be doing King's Dominion. And there's reasons for that. And probably the year after, we'll do Busch Gardens again. So what I want to do is to talk about the pros and the cons between the two parks. If you're coming to Virginia or you're thinking about making a trip here, then hopefully this will help you out a little bit. And let's get started. So I'm going to start with the pros of both parks. And I'll probably mix in some cons in there as well. And then at the end, I'll give you my overall thoughts on the two. So let's start with the food at both parks. Williamsburg's Busch Gardens wins this hands down. Their food is fantastic there. There is not a restaurant that we have eaten in when we've gone to Busch Gardens Williamsburg that was not just delicious. The food there is fantastic. We prefer Das Festhaus, which is in the Germany section of Busch Gardens. That's not to say that King's Dominion fails here, because they don't. When we go to King's Dominion, my favorite place to eat out of every theme park that I've ever been to is at the Border Cafe, I believe it's called. It's their take on like Americanized Mexican food. They have burritos and nachos and tacos and, you know, just all kinds of really yummy stuff. And you can basically build your own. So I still say that Busch Gardens wins with the food because of the variety. At King's Dominion, there's probably 2 or 3 places that we kind of stick to. At Busch Gardens, pretty much anywhere that you go, you're going to get a good meal. So that's what we have for food. Water parks. Okay, this is where things, I have to give it to King's Dominion. King's Dominion is a theme park with a water park on the property. Busch Gardens has a water park that if you're getting like season passes and things like that, it's usually a combo, Busch Gardens and Water Country. So, because King's Dominion has theirs on property, I kind of have to give it to King's Dominion here. But I like the lazy river and I like the wave pool at Busch Gardens better than I like the ones at King's Dominion. But because it's a little less convenient to get to, it's like a mile away between Busch Gardens Williamsburg and Water Country USA. So it's not a huge thing, but as far as convenience goes, especially if you have little ones with you and you don't want to have to load them into the car or take them out of the car, then King's Dominion kind of wins on that one. So, walkability. This is a big deal for a lot of people, especially for older people or people that are perhaps in wheelchairs or have difficulty with walking. King's Dominion is, for the most part, flat. So you're not going to run along, you know, a whole lot of inclines or declines. There is one major one going from the Main Street area down into, that's not Old Virginia, Candy Apple Grove, I believe is what it's called. But it's not like steep, you know, it's steady. And there's benches and things that you can stop and sit on because it is a little bit of a hike. Busch Gardens, it's beautiful to walk through, but there are a lot of hills. And there are certain areas where you will not get through on a wheelchair. You can get to those areas other ways, but you're just not, like, there's a lot of stairs at, I want to say it's near the Loch Ness Monster, but it's been a little while, so I may be remembering that wrong. But there's a lot of stairs to get from that area to, there's a kids area. And it's just not walkable. It's not conveniently walkable. You can take a wheelchair throughout that whole place, a motorized cart throughout that whole place. Sure, you absolutely can. But you are limited on the paths that you can take, for lack of a better way to explain it. So for walkability, I give it to King's Dominion. Now for rides. This is so hard. I'm going to give it to Busch Gardens Williamsburg, and that's hard for me to do, and I'll tell you why. King's Dominion has taken out, well, they have closed down Volcano the Blast Coaster, which was my ultimate favorite roller coaster on the entire planet. It was the one that I looked forward to every time we went. Now, I understand why they took it out, or why they stopped running it, because they said it just wasn't safe. They couldn't keep up to their standards. I get it. I do. But they went like all last season and didn't tell us that this is what was going on. So now we get to this season and they're like, oh, we're going to be down a coaster. Not only that, but there are two that I will not ride because they are physically painful. Twisted Timbers, and most people don't have this issue. Me and my daughter did, and I've talked to maybe 2 other people that said the same thing. But where it goes over your knees and where it goes over your hips, that area, I just got banged up so bad. By the time I got off the ride, I felt like I'd been in a fight. Like, that to me is not fun. Twist me around, turn me around, throw me up in the air, but don't make me hurt. There's nothing fun about that, in my opinion. So I won't ride Twisted Timbers. Maybe it will get better. I don't know. I probably won't give it another try, though, because my knees were hurting the next day. So I rode it once, and that was it. The other one that I will not ride is Anaconda. That one has the hard harness that goes over your shoulders. And when I'm riding it, like, my head bangs up against it really hard. And, like, it would make my jaw and my, you know, this part of my face, like, it would hurt afterwards. I don't want to feel like I've been in a fight after I get off a roller coaster. Sure, make me feel like, you know, I've been tossed around and turned and all that kind of stuff, but I don't want to be in physical pain. Now, with that said, they do have my second favorite roller coaster, which is the Intimidator 305. If you go to King's Dominion, and if you like roller coasters, you must ride that one. Please, if you ride any ride when you're there, ride that one. They also have a lot of more gentle rides. They have the Flying Eagles. They have, what's that one that spins around? I want to say the Ricochet, but I think that they renamed it to something else. But there's a lot of rides other than roller coasters. Now, for Busch Gardens Williamsburg, they took out Curse of Dark Castle, which I loved. That's fine. They took out, I can't think of the name of it. It's the one where you were in the flight. I think it was Flying Across Europe or Flight Air Across Europe, something like that. It was like a simulation where you were flying across different countries in Europe, which was cool. They took that out, kind of bummed. Now, they do have some really good roller coasters there. They have, oh, what is the name of it? I'm going to draw a blank. Oh, they have Mock Tower. I love Mock Tower. Now, King's Dominion has a drop tower. I just think that the Mock Tower at Busch Gardens is better. Just an opinion. What can you say? They also have, oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of it. Brain just went blank. But they do have several really good roller coasters there. Verbolten, that's the name of it. Why couldn't I think of that? Verbolten, a lot of fun. If you go to Busch Gardens Williamsburg, ride that one. They also have Alpengeist. Alpengeist is, I love that one. I ride it every time we go. So they both have good rides. I will have to say Williamsburg even though their walkability is kind of funny, they do have two different rides that help you get around the park. They have the Sky Ride, which, you know, you get into one of those buckets that goes along the cables throughout the park, and it goes to, I think, 3 different areas in the park. And then they have a train that goes all around the perimeter of the park, which is a lot of fun, especially for little kids, because, you know, they enjoy being on the train, and it's kind of a novelty. My son, when he was little, absolutely loved the train. That was what he wanted to get on every single time we went. So, as far as rides go, it's a tough one to say which one is better than the other. Prices, see, we've always done season passes, so they're very similar for their season passes. King's Dominion offers a little bit more. Of course you're paying for it, but they offer things like all season dining and all season drinks, which Busch Gardens does the drinks as well. You can get the refillable cups. But they don't offer the all season dining, which kind of is why we tend to stick to King's Dominion now. Prices in the shops are very comparable. The types of shops that they have are very comparable. What you're going to find in Busch Gardens is a lot of things that are unique to the area. So, like in Germany, you're going to find things that would be German-like. In Ireland, I believe it's Ireland or Scotland. Don't get mad at me. It's one of those. But they have more like, you know, the Gaelic type artistry, things like that. King's Dominion, the different areas are going to have different things too. Like Old Virginia is going to have more rustic type things. Like we do, it's this thing where you can buy, it's called a bag of dirt. And you take it to the sifter thing, and I think Busch Gardens has this too. And you take it to the sifter where there's water running, and, you know, you put your bag of dirt through it, and you can get gems. And, oh my God, my kids love that. So, they're very similar in a lot of the things that they offer. As far as parking, King's Dominion's parking is, you don't have to get on a tram to get to the parking. With most of Busch Gardens parking, you have to get on a tram. That doesn't really bother me. You know, it is what it is. That to me really isn't even a factor. So if that's something that you're considering, though, if you're like taking strollers in and things like that, it's something to think about. But you can take your stroller on the trams. So it's not a real issue. And that is my King's Dominion versus Busch Gardens video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Please leave comments down below. What is your favorite theme park? Why is it your favorite theme park? And have you been to either of the 2 theme parks that I've mentioned today? And with that, I will say goodbye. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.